Hi, this is Heather Fiore, and this is tort liability. Tort liability arises because of a wrongdoing or direct violation of a person's rights. Remedy is usually found within the court system. A hearing is set to see who is the liable person. The first case that I have is Leanne Mitchell versus Cedar Rapids Community School. In this particular case, a special education student was sexually assaulted after hours. However, what led up to the after hour assault is why the school was being held liable. Basically, the student never showed up to class. The teachers didn't follow through with checking on a missing student, despite that they were pretty particular in making sure kids were there and so forth. In past instances, this particular one, they didn't follow through with it. So the mother basically felt that it was neglect on the school's part for not protecting her child, because if she would have been in class or if they would have followed through to find out where she was, this assault wouldn't have happened after hours. The courts agreed, and they felt that the school failed to adequately supervise the student and awarded damages. So if this happened in my school, what would I do? I would definitely call the supervising teachers in to see what measures they took when the student didn't show up, to make sure that they didn't follow through, or if they did follow through, which way I had to address the situation. Also, I would see if they had any information pertinent to the alleged assault. Did they hear anything in class? Did they know of anything prior going on between this student and the other student involved? Some proactive measures: make sure the staff is following through on what they're supposed to do if a student doesn't show up. They need to know their procedures and the follow-up methods to make sure that they're covering themselves and the school. As far as professional ethics, safety is paramount. We need to respond immediately to such actions as a student not reporting. Contact whomever necessary to get the ball rolling to find out where the student is. Even have the director of security lead an investigation into the whole situation as to where the student is. I know in our schools we immediately have to contact if a kid is missing. We send a report, and it's addressed immediately by our administration. Next case was Evans versus Oaks Mission Public School. A student by the name of Raymond. He was a high school student. He previously had 2 shoulder separations, and because of his medical history with the shoulder separations, his parents and himself decided that he shouldn't take physical education classes for his junior year. He would return to sports later his senior year. However, Raymond ended up dropping this class and enrolling in a PE class despite what was his best interests. He decided to take part in a wrestling match kind of competition and ended up dislocating his shoulder. The parents filed for negligence against the school because they felt that he wasn't supervised by the teachers, and because of that, he ended up with this dislocated shoulder. However, claims were dismissed in this case because they claimed it was a contest. There was no instruction going on by the PE teachers. They did not instruct him to do this particular activity. So they found that since it was not instructed by the physical education teachers, it happened because of a contest. It wasn't the school's negligence. So if this happened in my school, basically I would make sure that the coaches and PE teachers are always instructed to watch their students at all times, practicing their best practices and safety measures. All staff members who would watch a video and then take a quiz to see how they score, making sure that they're aware of the school practices and procedures when dealing with injured students, injuries, and communication within their departments. It's very important that, especially in the PE department, that they're aware of what's going on at all times. Despite that it was a contest, it very well could have fallen back on the school for negligence. They were lucky that in this case they saw it as a contest, not directly an activity supervised by the PE department. Some proactive measures, have protocol procedures outlining where the PE teacher and coaches go in order to call or talk to the appropriate medical personnel to get correct information in regards to how students who are injured should participate and their injuries. So like I know in our school we do have a medical team so that any kids with injuries can go to our medical team to, to see how they're progressing and so forth. So that's definitely a benefit to my school that we have this team that they can go to. But we have a list of students, which I take care of this list of students that are on PE medical exclusion. So for something like this, he may not have been on exclusion, but it should have been noted that he had prior injuries, and to watch out, because he obviously likes sports a lot and wants to participate, but knowing that he had shoulder injuries in the past, I would have definitely obviously made sure the teachers were aware so that they could watch him maybe a little more intently. Professional ethics, same thing. Safety is paramount. We're here as basically the parents during the day for these kids. We have to make sure that, if they're on medical, that before they obtain going back to class, that the physicians have signed off on their medicals. We need to have highly qualified people in PE department watching these students and make sure that the nurse and everybody is involved and is on the same page on these instances. Next one, school district faces $4.5 million judgment in child injury. This is where kindergarten, at the end of the day, he was so excited to see his mom because he made her a special project in school. He started to run up to her as she was waiting for him on the sidewalk. Of course, little kid, they tend to trip and fall a lot, but he was running down the sidewalk, tripped and fell. When he fell into an area where there were stumps and saplings, and basically what happened was the sapling was sticking up. It punctured his eye, the eye socket, and jabbed the frontal lobe of his brain. He had serious injuries that permanently changed his life and his family's life. The parent sued for negligence for allowing the stumps to remain there and the saplings on the path where many people walked. They were awarded by a superior court because they felt the district was negligent in doing proper maintenance of the grounds. Plus, they were also awarded money for emotional distress. If this happened in my school, what reactive measures do you think would have occurred as a result? Well, definitely immediately have the stumps removed, maintenance informed to check all the grounds for safety purposes, not just there, but everywhere. Teachers aware to pay close attention to their environment as well when they're sending kids off, remind kids to walk, not run. Some proactive measures to prevent such torts from happening. A study would have been in place to make sure all walkways, paths, sidewalks are clear and in ADA compliance for all schools and grounds. So they would definitely have to make sure that, we have a maintenance department. We have security. We have teachers that are out there on duties when kids are leaving. So just make sure that the grounds are clear. Again, address the students, make sure they walk, don't run. Mommy's not going anywhere. Some professional ethics, again, we are the parents, and I could say this pretty much in all of the cases. We are the parents when the parents aren't there. So we got to think like parents and take precautions to check our children. Clearly mark where students are allowed to walk. So make sure they stay within the confines of the walkways and so forth. Again, reminding them to walk, not run. Director of Transportation, initiate a walking study. Go around the campus, walk around, see what's in the way, what could be a hazard. Because as we said before, safety is paramount. Okay, the next one was Robbie Johnson, a minor, support through his mom, Lynn Johnson, versus the school district of Millard. Okay, so Robbie Johnson, first grader, in music class, is learning from his teacher, Miss Patton, how to play London Bridges. She demonstrates to the students how they play London Bridges and then proceeds to tell the students to play. So during the game, Robbie's partners, swung him a little too hard, and he accidentally fell out of their arms and hit a bookcase and had suffered a laceration above his right eyebrow. At that time, the teacher had her back to him. So the courts felt that there was a lack of supervision and she was negligent for the supervision, so they awarded him $1,200 in medical expenses, $15,000 for permanent disfigurement, and $5,000 for pain and suffering. If this happened in my school, I would definitely discuss with the teacher what happened and why her back was to the students. What was the reason? Your back should never be to your students. You should always be supervising, especially when they're in an activity such as that, where they're up, standing around, moving. You know, they're little kids. They like to get rough. They think it's funny. So definitely, you know, make sure she undergoes maybe a safe school training. Send out a memo to all of the staff reminding of supervision and safety procedures. Also do a community outreach to all parents to know what measures are in place to protect their children. Some proactive measures, I would need to make sure all the teachers understand that constant supervision is necessary. Make sure the room is suitable for such a game. You know, some classrooms are really small, lots of things, especially younger first grade classrooms. They tend to have all these little bookshelves and cutesy things all around for the kids to be more engaging. So it's less like a high school classroom where it's just basically desks, chairs, and maybe some bulletin boards. Again, professional ethics goes back to the fact we're the parents when the children are not home, and we need to act like parents and protect the kids and set procedures where there's always somebody there to supervise. You know, if you're going to do such activities, make sure it's in an appropriate place where it's safe and there's, you know, maybe bumpers put up to protect them in case they do fall. And just, again, safety is paramount in everything we do with these children. The last case that I did was Larry Jackson, another minor, versus Unified School District 259. Basically, Larry, at the end of PE class, asked his PE teacher to allow him to use the springboard to touch the rim of the basketball. This has been something that's been in place for years. The article discussed it being in place for like 20 years. People had been doing such a thing. Upon using the springboard, Jackson sustained a compound fracture to his right forearm. Jackson and his mother filed suit against the school district for negligence. However, the school claimed immunity under the Kansas tort claims, and basically the Kansas tort claims is about if it's within the scope of the job, or as far as like community and so forth, if it happened in a public place and so forth. The courts ruled in favor of the schools and relieved them from liability. They felt that the school, it was a recreational use that it was going on. It wasn't instructed by the PE teacher. He was using it as a recreational activity, just like a park or anything like that. Sometimes they're open to the public and sometimes they're not, but when they are, it's for recreational use. And the gym was being used as exactly that, recreational use. So that's why they found in favor of the Kansas Tort Claims Act, and the court ruled to relieve the school of the liability. If this happened in my school, I would definitely inform all PE teachers that they should be careful in what they are allowing the students to do. This case really got me because I kind of felt like, well, the teacher did allow him. I understand it was recreational use, but I kind of would have been on the side of the parents that, you know, maybe you shouldn't allow him to do such a thing that's kind of to participate in that act could definitely lead to somebody getting hurt. So I'd make sure that they understand that we're liable for the students if they get injured. So be careful what you allow them to do. Even though it's been 20 plus years of past practice, doesn't mean we can't be held liable in today's day and age. What practice measures would you do to prevent such torts from happening? I wouldn't allow the students to utilize equipment unless it's directly related to the PE activities that are in place. And if you choose to let them, supervision is definitely necessary in all activities. It's a must. As I've said previously, we're the parents, and when kids are in school, we need to watch these kids. All airborne activities must have padding to cushion landings for safety purposes. It didn't really say if there was padding around or not, but definitely if it was in my school, I'd make sure if you're going to allow kids to do this, let's have the appropriate padding, cushions, whatever around it. Supervision, again, watch the kids. And all airborne activities should have spotters in PE class. Excuse me. Again, this one, as well as the other cases, safety is paramount. So these are my case studies, and this is the end. Thank you for listening.